Hey everybody, welcome to the second episode ever of What the Helvetica. Today we have Eva Alordiah, who is my secret weapon in business. Eva and I are in a mastermind group together for like a year and a half. We have weekly calls, and I pretty much don't make any business decision without running it past her genius marketing mind.
Join Mike Janda and guests to discuss the things that make creative people say, "What the hell, Helvetica?"
And I am happy to finally be making content with her. Hey, Eva, how are you?
Hi, Michael. It's so lovely to finally be making content with you publicly.
I know, right?
We podcast.
If you think about it, we've probably had in a year and a half, we've probably had 50 calls.
A year
weekly,
and a half.
but then sometimes we have a trip or vacation or whatever.
Yeah.
And each of those has been like an hour, sometimes longer. That's a lot of hours of talking about
a lot
business
of content that we should charge people for.
Exactly. Like we haven't shared any of it. And it's all been like super in the weeds content about our specific businesses. So crazy.
They have been very valuable for me, by the way. I don't know. This is, like I tell you all the time, this is my consistent thing every single week. I know that this call is going to happen, and I look forward to it because it sort of structures my head back in place. Like, okay, this is where you're going. This is what you're focused on. And it's so good to have that kind of, support from someone like you.
Well, it's so good for me too, because I've told you this, like from a marketing mind standpoint, you're as good as I've ever worked with, that I've ever talked with. You just get it. You get selling to the audience and understanding audience pain points and messaging in ways that connect someone to that pain point, to your service, and you just get it. You get it.
Oh, thank you.
I'm always so blown away at the depth of intuition that you have. Ooh. It's just like you have this marketing sense that's so good. So good.
Thank you. Coming from you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Okay, let me brag about you.
I love the name of your podcast.
You do? Yeah.
It's like,
I just like it.
This is the podcast where we come, what the hell, Helvetica?
Exactly. It is like, what the hell, Helvetica, are we doing this for? What are we doing this? And what's going on? What the Helvetica is going on behind the scenes and in our brains, and the things that really are at the heart of the emotional heart of what we're doing. The first episode that I did is all about mental health, emotional health, and being in the creative industry and running a business and the emotional toll that it takes on you. So it's that kind of stuff. All my content's been step 1, step 2, step 3, and I've never had an outlet for this kind of more what's the word for it? This more emotional side
in the flow of
consciousness
content, I call it.
Yeah,
that's what it is. The flow of consciousness.
The flow of consciousness.
Yes.
Okay, let me brag about you. You have 2 different major brands that you have. Eva, in high school years, teenage years, she started making music. She's a rapper. She has tons of awesome songs that are published all over the major platforms. She's in Ghana, but she's originally from Nigeria. And your rapper brand has a ton of audience. You have 390,000 followers on Twitter. You have 354,000 followers on Instagram.
Yep.
And your YouTube channel has 31,000 followers on that brand, the rapper musician brand.
I like how you're separating them, the way they're separated in my head.
Yeah, because you have there are multiple Evas. There's actually, we're going to talk about 2 Evas today, but she actually has like 8 Evas that are rattling around inside of her. Her other brand, exactly. What the Helvetica are you thinking? The other brand she has is her marketing stuff. She does a lot of email funnels and landing pages and helping people sell courses and sell their knowledge, package and sell their knowledge. She's a partner with her brother in Kobo Course, which is a learning management system like a Teachable or Kajabi, but it's built and geared toward people in Africa. And That's another Eva hat that she wears. But her brand for her marketing stuff, she has 61,000 followers on Instagram. You have a small YouTube channel around that.
A small YouTube channel.
Primarily Instagram. And then you have multiple newsletters, and she has multiple different services, and she's always doing webinars, and she's
wonder how she does it all.
Marketing experimenter. You're a marketing experimenter.
I am. I really am. Thank you so much. I should take you along with me every time I have a gig.
You should.
So you can introduce me,
and now
Michael.
Take it away. What do you have to say, Eva?
Oh my God. First of all, what the Helvetica are you thinking, Eva? There's so many hats, for real. But I'm not going to sit here and tell you guys that it's easy. Even mentally, it's really not. But when you feel pulled and called towards something, and you are curious enough to say, what is this, and why is it calling me, and what can I find out about it? This is how a lot of us get into this world, right? And you realize that you actually love this thing, and not just love it, but you love it enough to give it your time, your attention, and then it does that wonderful thing where it is useful for people, you know? And so at the point where it is useful for people, you're sort of trapped. You're like, okay, this is something, you know? Because it takes a lot to do anything useful for people in the world today. It takes a lot. Yeah. You know, and I think that makes life worth living. So honestly, the marketing stuff, I geek about it. I'm very curious about it. Even when I don't want to think about it, I'm thinking about it. And marketing is in all our lives, you know, like a lot of the things that I've learned from sales funnels and online marketing and online education and stuff like that, I'm applying them now to my music brand. You know, so like email marketing, having a newsletter, creating digital products for my music brand. You know, I find that a lot of musicians are so focused on trying to sell this 50-cent singles and getting money from streaming. But I'm over here thinking about a whole different type of monetization for artists, which is a completely different conversation. But that is only possible because I allowed myself to delve into a completely brand new world of digital marketing, you know? So I think in a way they sort of like mirror themselves. There's a reflection here and there from my creative brand and my business brand. And it's almost like the same thing, but not really. But somehow, but not really.
Well, I've been talking to you about that for a year about how do we overlap those two passions so that you just have one brand? And we haven't struck gold on that yet, but it's probably out there, the concept.
Yes, I think I'm about to. I feel like so far, especially because of Kobo Course, which I built with my brother, the online education brand, because of Kobo Course, I'm understanding that it's not necessarily just like digital marketing and sales funnels and all of these things. It's really about empowering creatives to monetize themselves online, you know, because that was how I found myself in this space in the first place. I was a starving artist. I did not have any money at all. I could not afford to be a musician, in fact. And while I was so talented, I was just as broke. And my only option at the time was to sell my knowledge online. I just wanted to sell ebooks. And that was how I found myself here. But you know how it is, the digital marketing world, you start with one thing and then you wear all the hats in your business, you know? And so I had to learn email marketing. I had to learn funnels. I had to learn content creation. I had to learn public speaking. I had to learn content writing, persuasion marketing, all of these things. And here I am. And here I am.
And you have a good, like I said, you have such a great sense for it on all of those things. And I've always been blown away at how quickly you can just pull out some snippet of something that someone said. Oh, Russell Brunson said this, and Gary Vee said this, and you got to look on page 72 of this book. You've got it all kind of archived in your brain. It's impressive to me.
Thank you
so impressive.
So much. Thank you.
Okay, today...
I love it. I actually do love it. I love it.
Yeah, and you're so good at it. You're so good at it. So
thank you.
Today, what we're going to talk about is a shift that's happened. Eva and I complain to each other about this every week, pretty much. A shift that's happened inside of social media, and AI has perpetuated this even more. There is a content pandemic happening right now on social media, and it is the noise that is getting published for a variety of different reasons. And let me give you an example of this. There was the most cringy post I've seen on Instagram in so long. I sent it to Eva a couple months ago. And it was a recommendation from a social media marketing influencer, has decent tens of thousands of followers. And it was the ChatGPT trick to make 30 days worth of content in 5 minutes. And the concept was, go to ChatGPT, tell ChatGPT what your audience is, ask for 30 hooks that you can,
I remember that one.
your audience will be interested in, and then take those 30 hooks and put them in a spreadsheet, then open up Canva and choose a template, and then do a batch create using the spreadsheet content to populate the template. And then all of a sudden, boom, 5 minutes later, you have 30 days of content. And when I saw this, I was like, this is the exact problem on social media right now, is that the barrier to entry for content creation is so low that anybody, anywhere in the world with any level of expertise can make content and have AI tools and batch creation tools in a low-cost design platform output carousels for them.
Yes.
And I'm so cringy about this because it frustrates me for a couple reasons. Because if you are someone who actually has knowledge that you earned in the trenches of the real world, and you have something to share of value from your own experience, you're just being lumped in with the millions of people that are sharing content that's just being cranked in from ChatGPT. There's no difference between you and all of those people. So what were your thoughts, Eva, when I sent you that post, or in general to this concept that I just outlined here?
Yeah. I personally, I love ChatGPT for like research and doing that stretching of my brain that I couldn't do by myself in the past, you know, for example, like creating digital products, creating extra resources for my courses, like having an idea of like big range of all the different types of resources, you know. But when it comes to actually creating the theme, you have to bring your personal experience into it. And this is what I believe people, you see how everybody is talking about how, oh, AI is going to take over the world. And now there is like faceless digital marketing. It's all over the place. I believe now your personal brand becomes even more valuable. The personality of your personal brand becomes even more valuable because there is now this rampant flooding of these types of content that is less human, you know? So I feel like it's an opportunity for creatives like us who actually do enjoy creating and sharing. You know, it's an opportunity for us to amplify and increase the value of our personal brand. And to be honest, I noticed this trend as well on YouTube, where even on YouTube, like long form platforms like YouTube, people are getting overwhelmed. And I've seen several content creators talk about this on YouTube. They're getting overwhelmed with the overly edited type of content. And so it's like we're slowly shifting back into 2014 YouTube or even 2009 YouTube, where we just watched each other. It was YouTube, you know? And so I think there is a shift where the personality is really coming back to the content. People just want to see you sitting in your garden now. People just want to listen to you talk about something. And if you start bombarding them with all these edits and stuff, they get overwhelmed because it's too much. It's all over the place, you know? So I'm looking at it. I'm like, okay, let the real ones rise. That's how I feel.
I love that. I love that.
I feel like, the value of being a personal brand is just like higher now.
Yeah. I think that that's so true. Anybody can create a 15-second reel, and I'll tell you how to do it for your brand. Anybody can go to ChatGPT and say, my audience is people who need to buy life insurance. That's who I sell life insurance. Give me 5 points that someone should know about selling life insurance. And then ChatGPT outputs 5 points. And then you turn on your camera and then you point at the screen and you use trending music and you point at the 5 points as they show up on your screen. Or you put in it, read the caption, and you dance around and you point and say,
Please,
read the
I'm
caption.
guilty.
And then people go down and read the caption. Anybody can create that. There's no barrier to entry. Everybody has a high resolution phone camera.
Yes.
Everybody in the world has a decent camera on their phone. Okay, agreed, not everybody, but 99% of the people in the world have a phone that will shoot good quality with good lighting, fixes the lighting, does all the stuff. Everybody can do that. Everybody can have access to ChatGPT if you have an internet connection. Everybody can ask the right question and get a few different bullet points to point at. There's no barrier to entry in that. And what I see, and I get so sad, I see people who I know are high-level creators. They're high-level marketers, high-minded people with lots of experience and lots of real value to share, and they're playing that game. They're getting into the algorithm chasing of pointing or dancing or whatever, or B-roll with read the caption and stuff. And I know that that stuff works, but is that who you want to be? Because now you're competing against the millions of other people who are using that exact same tactic, and they don't have to have depth of knowledge and stories and actual experience.
That's what I was going to say. It's so true because, for example, back to the insurance example, right? If you said 5 tips for selling insurance, that is a piece of content, versus 2 things I learned from this client, or I worked with this client and sold insurance, and here are 5 things I learned, right? I feel like right now, the people who are actually in the trenches and the people who actually have real experience from doing the work, not the people who are just trying to fill up space, the people who have real experience have to start sharing their stories in a very natural, expressive way when it comes to content. And so we go from 5 tips for selling insurance to 5 things I learned from this client who bought $500,000 worth of this, right?
Yeah.
I think the people who really want to do this work have to learn how to create content in a way that people want to read. And that is creating content like a human being. So you actually have to go back to the origins of content, which is storytelling. You have to go back to the real foundation of creating content. It's beyond just 5 tips. It's what are the things that you know from your experience? And this is how you really stand out. And to be honest, I've experienced it as a consumer as well. I am more likely to click on a YouTube video that is written like a story than a YouTube video that is written like another educational content. Does that make sense? And so when it starts reading like a story, like a journal entry, like something that you put in your diary for just yourself, right? That type of content is beginning to catch attention more because humans are looking for humans now, right?
Yeah.
We know that there are machines, and the more human you sound with your content, that means the more storytelling that you bring to the conversation, the more experience you bring into the conversation, the more likely you are to really, get the attention that you're seeking.
Yeah.
Is how I feel. So I'm even teaching myself the same.
That's so spot on the way I feel.
Yeah.
And we've been talking about this for a year, but it's that when I think back on the years of building my agency and hiring people and firing people and getting screwed by this client, and I don't share a lot of those stories in my content. I've been sharing the put this clause in your contract because if you don't, the client's going to screw you. And that's my content. That's been my content for the last several years. What I need to get to and what I'm trying to do now with my content is be like, here's an experience that I got screwed by a client, and here's the exact details of what happened. And then the output of that was this contract clause, that storytelling side. And I just haven't had a platform about that nearly nothing focused. And that's what this podcast is going to try and be. It's going to be this little bit more raw, a little bit more conversational. And in
Yes.
fact, it's both of my podcasts, because we launched 2 Pixels Off that I do with Brad Hussey. That launched last week too. And now I'm starting this podcast as well.
Yeah.
But it's the more that people start leaning into AI tools and templates and batch content creation, the more I'm going to lean into long form video, long form audio, long form storytelling, long form conversations like this right here. This is where I'm going with my content, because this is the differentiator.
Yes.
I'm not competing against the millions of people who can use ChatGPT. When you have a raw conversation like this, it isn't ChatGPT AI producing it.
I love that. I love that a lot. In fact, this past week, I have been so sick of showing up online, especially when I say that, especially Instagram, because I felt so drained. It is just something about that platform, and we have complained about this the entire year.
Yeah.
There's just something about the platform that tells me I'm wasting my time, that tells me that I am wasting my years. And as an artist, I've learned to measure time by what went into the time, like into the time block, like what did I create in that time block? What is the valuable thing, the thing I can hold and show you? For example, did I write a book, right? Did I create 30 YouTube videos in the year? That is more useful for me as a creator than 30,000 Instagram reels that died last month, on the feed. So I've had a very tough time this past week coming back on Instagram, or even showing up on Instagram at all. And I know that it's because the artist inside of me, the child who loves to create things for life, and every time I think about creation, I think about how we used to create as kids. We wanted to paint. We wanted to create things that we could hold on for a long time. We wanted to write books that we could read for years and years to come, and it's the same way I think about content, the long form content, the podcast, the YouTube videos, the blogs. That is still the foundational content. It's still where our life is. And I feel like I'm doing myself a disservice if I'm not creating that first, and I'm creating like short form content first. I'm totally doing myself a disservice. That's how I feel.
Yeah.
So I'm better off creating like a full article and sitting down there and creating a full length article, just pouring my mind out onto the page, or making a real in-depth YouTube video than trying to compete on Instagram Reels,
Yeah.
I mean, it has its function, it has its uses, but we have to, I feel like, this is not for everybody, but like, if you're serious about it, we have to look at them like, okay, these are our daily traffic platforms, whether it's Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, these are our daily traffic platforms. But after that, then what? I have several people who have come to me to work with me who have, and this is so unfortunate, and I hope that the right people are watching this, right? This is so unfortunate. I've spoken and connected with several creators who have like big audiences on YouTube, 300,000 subscribers, one of them, or even TikTok, right? Almost 1 million subscribers, this person who came to me asking for help with launching a digital product, and they don't have 100-member email list, right? Like, you don't have an email list with 100 people, but you have a TikTok with 500,000. What if TikTok shuts down? What are you going to do? What if Instagram deletes your account, which we have seen that they can do whenever. And this can happen across any platform. And so the most important assets that you have as a digital creator, in my opinion, is that list, is that email list. We're back to 1998 with the internet again, where everybody's talking about email marketing. And I know that creators today don't want to talk about it. They don't want to dip their toes in there, but you're going to have to eventually.
Yeah, you have to. You have to. You have to have an email list. You have to.
So
you have a couple email lists. How big are your email lists, Eva?
In total now, they're both 29,000, both of them together.
That's awesome.
But my music list, let's call them my music list, my fan base list is like 14,000 subscribers, right? And that has been my focus for the past year. When I started, I called it 1,000 true fans. And I just wanted 1,000 people to join the list. I don't know if you remember, but that was like
I joined
a year, half
I
ago.
joined
You
it during that time. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm a true fan. Go look on your thing. I'm probably like joiner number 100 on your
Thank
list.
you.
Go check.
And now it's over 14,000. So
wow,
like,
that's so
I have
great.
a podcast for them. Thank you. I have a podcast.
Yeah.
When I'm releasing a new single, I'm not like waiting for Spotify or waiting for this. I'm going straight to the fans. I have 14,000 people reading my emails, and the open rate on that is almost 50%. They actually enjoy my emails, right? So these are the things that I'm working on and trying to get my legs back into what I know is true, which is the evergreen content for platforms like YouTube. And speaking of that, just today, I had a call with a client, and we were going over her strategy for YouTube, and I was teaching her how to do her keyword research and how to find content to create for YouTube and such. And I did a search for something as normal as how to find your purpose. And YouTube was still showing me videos from 5 years ago on the front page.
Wow.
It's how to find your purpose. Like, I feel like somebody somewhere in the world is making a video every other day for that keyword.
Yeah.
Right? But YouTube is still showing me 5 years ago. Like, that really turned me on as a creator. I was like, oh, this is it.
Okay, so and if you want that kind of content on Instagram and you want to find it, where are you even going to find that? You can't, you're going to click on a couple hashtags and drill down and try and find something. It's just no searchability. There's no evergreen anything in the Instagram platform.
Searchability is better on TikTok than Instagram. I think they really prioritized it.
TikTok's making a play for sure.
Yeah. So
okay, while you were talking,
inspired me for YouTube today. What did you say?
Well, while you were talking on that, I was thinking, you said Instagram is good for some things and not for other things. And one of the big shifts in Instagram over the last couple of years is that was the pivot to Reels and the direct head-to-head competition with TikTok. And when Instagram did that, it really killed the educator market inside of Instagram. It killed the educators because now it was Reels, and we would rather watch a monkey ride a skateboard than listen to somebody teach us 5 steps to making a successful email blast.
Yeah.
That's what we would rather watch. And so it's more of that doom scrolling environment. Now, what we see on Instagram is a lot of people, including myself, who have kept trying to educate on a platform that does not seem to want your educational content. It seems to want the skateboard riding monkey. That's what it seems to want. And so for me, that's my frustration when I find myself inside of Instagram and I want to educate. Like, that's at the heart of my passion in my career phase right now. But my biggest audience is on Instagram, but the Instagram platform doesn't want that content from me. I get sad. It bums me out because I love that audience, but there's no community left there. The comments are down, the likes are down, the reach is down, everything's down on educational style content.
I think I made my peace with that a while back. And the way I arrived at peace with Instagram was, this is a traffic platform. The potential for traffic is so huge. It's ridiculous. Like, I was against Reels for a long time until I started watching it as a strategist. And I said, okay, this is what you're doing. No problem. And then I started watching it as a consumer as well. And I started to observe my own habits as a consumer. I only go on Instagram to relax and wind down after I have done deep work for the day. And so I imagine that every other person is almost doing the same and just scrolling. And if something catches my attention, it's like, why did it catch my attention? And do I want to keep on reading from this creator? Then I go and search if they have a newsletter. And so my advice to all the creators who really love educating is, this platform has traffic potential. Just get everybody into your email list. right?
Yeah.
And do your deeper dives, educational content inside of your newsletter weekly, or inside of your weekly YouTube or your podcast. But because of the traffic potential on platforms like Instagram and TikTok, the conversation is join my email list, get my free course, get my free email course, get my free ebook, get my free guide, get my free this, get my free that. Like, don't even try to sell on the day because they're scrolling, right? But give them something free. And if you were like me, you will probably geekify your way through the free thing and add a tripwire in the funnel.
Yeah.
That's when I get into my funnel zone. But the most important thing is to get them out of there, and just put them inside of the email list. And that has been my focus for the last year. And it's giving me peace, because now when I create content, I know, okay, I'm going to add another 100 subscribers to my email list. I'm going to add another 1,000 by the end of the week. I'm going to do this in my stories. I'm going to get their emails. And that's all I do, getting the emails out. That's all I do on those platforms. So if you're watching this right now and you don't have a lead magnet, you don't have a free course or a free guide or a free whatever, really think about doing that and just have those what I call traffic platforms grow your list for you, and then do all of your deeper dives in the places where people will actually consume the content, like your newsletter.
Yeah,
right?
that's
That
such
makes
good
sense.
advice. Such good advice. I
Thank
haven't
you.
done that as effectively as a lot of other people, but if you look at some of our mutual friends, like Steve Meller, who's a good friend of both of ours.
Yes.
Steve, like every freaking post is like, put in the keyword and then triggers someone getting into his,
it
into
triggers
his
the
email.
delivery for the free lead magnet.
Yeah, we're going to get them out of that platform. So a platform like Instagram now, when it used to be an educator's platform back in the carousel heyday of a few years ago, it's now what you're calling a traffic platform. I would call it like a brand exposure platform, or a sales touch point platform. And when I like to teach on sales, on this idea that we need 7 touch points with a brand before they're ready to buy, or we're ready to buy from that brand. And so when we think of these 7 touch points, Instagram is an easy one to just drip a touch point. And then 2 days later, they see it again, a touch point. And then after they see something somewhere else, you get another touch point. And then all of a sudden, you're going to find them inside your email list. You're nurturing up that conversion through these touch points. And if you look at Instagram as that, you can probably get over some of your angst. This is probably me talking to myself because I'm so angst about it. But you can get over some of that angst that the platform's changed so much.
Absolutely. I agree with you. I absolutely agree with you. I also feel like, well, for me, again, the joy is that I'm going to do my long form content first before I think about Instagram, and not have Instagram be my main platform.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that's what I'm doing. I'm doing that with two podcasts now. And then I take those podcast channels and I cut them into snippets for my reels. That's what I'm doing.
Oh, that's a good plan.
Yeah,
you just
because
cut out the best parts of the content for your reels and stuff.
Yeah, I'm just pulling out snippets, and I'll do that on this conversation too, Eva. That we'll do some snippets, and I don't care what my engagement or my views or anything are on the Reels version, or the Reels or Shorts or TikTok version of this conversation. I don't care what that is. I care about getting people to the long form content, and the little snippet pieces are all there to drive people to the bigger piece.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, but then we have to remember to give them that call to action all the time, and not be tired of giving them the call to action, and let them know that there is a longer form piece of content. I have several creators that I watch every week nonstop, and I look forward to their content, because their longer form content, whether it's a newsletter, a podcast, or a YouTube, is always a deeper dive. And so when you look at it that way, even as a consumer, you realize that you're not getting the big thing on Instagram or, Twitter. You're just getting bits and pieces. And if you want to go deeper with that creator, then you have to read their newsletters. And the creators who deliver on newsletters weekly, or the creators who deliver on podcasts, on, deeper dive content that goes very rich, they're the ones who eventually make the money, because you build deeper levels of trust with these people. It's beyond 30-second swipes. It is now 6 minutes of a podcast conversation, or even 30 minutes of a podcast conversation. And those types of content, there's going to be like a bigger demand for them moving forward. As people realize that they are wasting their time online, they're going to be looking for the creators who are going to help them, get value for their time.
Yeah, so true. Okay, so I think my big takeaways on this, or my big recommendation to people, is the more that the world goes to social media noise, all the other people that are marketing their wares online are producing noise, the more you should convert over to longer form video, longer form audio, use snippets of it for your short form traffic generation. But those long form pieces of content are going to differentiate you from the noise. Bring that humanity back into your content by sharing the real depth of your knowledge, by sharing your stories, by sharing the earned wisdom that you have from your career, or by sharing the impact that something you learned had on your business, the real story behind it, and not just the step 1, step 2, step 3. And this, for me, is as much conversation for myself to just reiterate to myself what my pivot in content is for, because that's what I'm doing. I'm going all in on that. The more AI, the more you're going to see more Janda and not AI. I'm not going to generate any crap from AI. I'm not going to contribute to the generic noise that's out there in marketing right now.
I love that. It's really a test of, when we started with this AI revolution and conversation, everybody was saying, oh, AI is going to take your job and AI is going to kick you out of the system. No, AI is just going to reveal the authentic people. It's just going to show you more. Yeah, it's just going to show you more of who you are and who's actually really here, right? Yeah. So everybody gets to play the game. But then the question is, how are you going to play the game? Are you really going to play this game as you, yourself, your character, your own avatar that you have created over time and tests and trials and experience that is real, right? Not just something that you learned for 5 minutes on Google. And those are the people who are going to, when we say we're attracting our tribe, you're really just attracting people just like you, the people from your past self or the past version of you. And so showing up authentically as yourself becomes the value. It becomes the game. It becomes the thing that you should. And that is such an easy game to play, to be yourself. That is an easy game to play. Turn
on your camera and there you are. Yep.
So I don't have any, I just feel like, if you understand how to use AI, then it makes your work even better. But if you're just using AI to do the thing for you, then that's not how to use it. Right? That's not how to use it. So I'm looking forward to all the changes that are coming, and they're going to happen very rapidly, by the way. These are changes that we can expect in the next month, in the next couple of months, in the next few years. They're going to happen very quickly. But the biggest change that is happening inside of the creator's soul. It's happening inside of the creator's mind. So we want to be very mindful about the internal changes that are happening, as much as we're paying attention to what's happening on the outside, because it is who you are becoming from the inside that is most important. If creating content online and sharing your knowledge and sharing your gifts with the world is not transforming you in a positive, vibrant way, then what's the point? What's the point?
Yeah.
Right?
Yep. So good. Well said. Eva, this was a super fun conversation. I love these conversations with you every week. I'm glad we finally recorded one that we can share with the world.
Thank you.
And I hope that everybody enjoyed What the Helvetica about social media that we're talking about. And if you do like this podcast, please drop a review in your favorite podcast platform. That helps us get found by other creators, or share it in your social media. Hey, this is something you could share in an Instagram story, because it's a traffic generation play for the podcast itself. So thank you so much. We'll talk to you all again soon.
Bye.